Welcome to Bite Size Brands, where brands are refined, elevated, and transformed into something unforgettable. This podcast is your space to learn how to build a brand that reflects your vision, create emotional connection with your audience, position yourself as premium in your industry. With short, powerful episodes and inspiring guest features, you'll gain the clarity and confidence to step into your next level. And I'm your host, Kusha Kalra from the Bespoke Designs. I want to ask you something today. Is there actually a de facto path to success? Because if there were, shouldn't all of us who have bought the courses, followed the frameworks, attended the webinars, hired the coaches, and, ticked all the boxes be successful by now? And the longer I've been in business, the more I am beginning to believe that there really isn't one. I want to go back to my own journey where when I started uh, as an entrepreneur, back then I moved out of my corporate job. I had a training background. I worked for almost 12, 13 years. And I stepped out of my six-figure job and that respect which I had earned in my job. And after leaving that conventional career path, I decided to start something of my own because I trusted that I had the skills. I trusted that I will be able to make it possible and I will be able to make a living out of something. When I say something, I mean some of those skills that I had. Um, I also did my life coach certification back then, and I felt that I was ready to move out and start something of myself independently with that flexibility that I was looking for. And my biggest emotional reason was to be there 24/7 for my son as a single mom. And when I did start that entire journey as an entrepreneur, first by doing freelance training workshops in various corporates, and slowly and gradually shifting towards the online space and thinking that I'm going to start my own coaching business. And that's when I feel that things went in a downfall, and whatever I thought was the way of starting my business, it didn't really work the way it had to. So I was kind of feeling stuck. I was kind of feeling as if, did I take the right decision? Um, and from there, I remember I hired a successful business coach who brought together so many other women entrepreneurs who were starting their journey as a coach and they wanted to launch their coaching business. But there was this entire period where things didn't immediately work because as much as I thought that I've started it, I actually started ugly. I just went ahead with whatever I knew, whatever I had in terms of resources, in terms of the skill set. And I know that the entire journey in the beginning, I failed, but then from there, I kind of pivoted and I evolved as a designer. I evolved into the branding space and understanding branding, understanding how confidence and how the psychology of the buyers or my clients was. And I learned so many new things about identity, about presence. And I think I've come a long way because slowly and gradually from free work to $50 projects to now big packages and done for you services. And then from there, eventually being able to reach that space where I was even providing coaching and consultation and helping in terms of the strategy to my clients and connecting with so many women across the globe and bringing them on a platform where they could share their story through Bite Size Brands podcast. So when I look back, I think suddenly I feel that I've done a lot. It doesn't feel like a logical roadmap while I was living it because I wasn't even really sure of what was going to happen later on, like 2 years down the line. So I feel that looking backwards, we really create a clean narrative. But like I was able to share this right now that this happened, this happened. So I think I've got it sorted. But then when I was actually going through it, when I was actually living it, it was all messy. It was all overwhelming. So I think successful people often tell their stories backwards. So it's like once something works, we can say that I did this, then I did this, and then this led me to this, and so on and so forth. So it kind of feels like this was all planned and strategized. But when we are actually at that stage, at that level one, we really have no idea about what's level three going to look like and what is coming for us in the future and how is it going to look like. Um, there were experiments, there were mistakes, there were detours, there were wrong turns, and there were meeting people unexpectedly. And there were like offers that even failed and they didn't even make any sense back then. There were things that I finally outgrew. I mean, I remember not being able to go live without prepping for almost an hour. And I finally outgrew that phase of mine and opportunities which we couldn't have planned. So, someone's success story, it can become a useful case study, but I feel it's not something which can automatically become your own roadmap or your own instruction manual. And I say this because I've also worked with a lot of clients in this past 8, 9 years where I have seen their journey. All these women who've had expertise, but in their own field, in their own niche, but they had completely different approaches. Somebody was wanting visibility, and then there was another client who had enough visibility, but she was lacking in the positioning and she was lacking in the messaging. um, I know that I worked with another lady who did not need any strategic support. She just needed that kind of confidence to own what she already knows. So there was this client of mine who was doing really well in terms of her business. She was providing amazing transformation to her clients. But I think all she needed was that little nudge so that she could take that next leap towards that next level in her business. And that confidence is something that she came looking for when we were working on her brand. And I know that there are so many women that I've worked with um, who kind of moved ahead in their business, who had like an amazing expertise. But when I would see their brand, it was kind of still not catching up to where they had reached or evolved. So it's like how when you go to the doctor, the same diagnosis cannot possibly have the same prescription for everybody. That's how it is, right? So you might have seen that there are thousands of 7 steps to build a brand, 5 steps to creating an amazing, successful personal brand. But what happens if everybody follows exactly the same 7 steps? Where does the personal part go? Because honestly, you can borrow a framework, you can learn a strategy, you can even study somebody's business model and take inspiration from their brand. but eventually it has to pass through you, your personality, your values, your lived experience, your strengths, your capacity, who is your target audience, and your season of life. I mean, what is your definition of success? So I think it has to go through all of these. And a successful personal brand isn't assembled, from somebody else's blueprint. It's built around the person. And because I work with my clients where I provide them bespoke designs. That's literally the name of my business, my brand. But bespoke really doesn't mean random, okay? There are principles, there is strategy, there are fundamentals, there is data, there is people who know things you don't know yet, and you have to kind of figure that out. So mentors probably can help you shorten the learning curve. You can use frameworks to avoid making mistakes, but eventually, none of these things will eliminate discernment. So, learn the rules, understand why they work, and then decide how to apply it to you. And what are you doing in your business right now simply because somebody successful told you that that's how it's done? And if nobody had told you that was the right way, would you still choose it? So I want you to ponder on this question, this thought that if somebody successful would have told you that this is the particular way of doing things to be successful, and if you were doing it, but let's say they wouldn't have told you that that was the right way, would you still choose it? So I just feel that that's not how it works, right? You have to carve your own path. You have to go through your own journey, your own experience. As much as you can find those frameworks, those mentors, those successful people to sort of lead the way for you. But then when it comes to your business, you have to lead it from the front. You have to be the one who is crafting that path or the course of the next step for your business. And you can't really think that just because you've seen what they are doing, it just automatically fits you. So everything is tailor made, is customized to your journey, to your experience. And I think uh, here's where this really gets interesting, because I feel that I have my answer to this question, but I want this conversation to not just contain my answer. So I have asked a group of women who have actually been in business, who have grown businesses, who have changed directions, made mistakes, and evolved over the years to tell me what they once believed they had to do to succeed and what experience has taught them instead. And honestly, their answers are coming together in a very special interactive episode of Bite Size Brands. Maybe there isn't a de facto path to success. There are just principles, frameworks, people we can learn from, and there are paths that can show us what's possible. But eventually, you have to take everything you've learned and make it fit your life, your business, your values, your strengths, and the person you are totally becoming. Because perhaps success was never supposed to be one size fits all. Perhaps success was always meant to be bespoke.